so many of the people who have come to volunteer, we give letters of recommendation. We actually have a whole program internally to help these volunteers with whatever their goals are, to help them take that next step. So really cool.
Can you talk to me about that program? It sounds interesting because I'm interested in how you're activating the passion and purpose of that particular volunteer. What's your program around that like?
So we definitely have one thing going for us that other organizations might not have, which is when people look at our program, we were all in school at one point. And the number one thing people say is, I wish I had this when I was a kid. So right away, we hit an emotional note with people where they go, oh yeah, especially the college students where they're like, oh my God, when I hit grade 12, I was like, super scared. Like I still don't feel ready. And I paid like $20,000 in tuition and I'm supposed to be ready to graduate next year. And I have no idea who's going to hire me. Right. So they really resonate. But internally, we bring people on in teams always. So I do group interviews, and right away, this volunteer who's sitting in isolation in their home, we have a lot of new immigrants actually, where they moved here right before COVID. And as soon as they got here, it was like, stay in your home, right? Yeah, like you're not allowed to associate with anybody. And so these poor people are sitting at home going, I can't get experience. I can't get a job. I don't even know how to navigate the city. I can barely find the grocery store around the corner. High school students are going, man, I thought my life was about to begin and it feels like it just ended. People getting laid off, reduction of hours, things like that. So we just do general postings and people apply and we create an immediate dialogue. We do group interviews. And basically, as long as I feel, the first question that I ask people, and this I recommend for anyone interviewing, if you keep it all about the job, you're setting a tone that your company is entitled to more care than what you're giving to the person you're interviewing. And so what I do is when we start any interview, because I believe that really sets the tone, is I share with them all about the role. I don't put them on the spot. I don't make them feel like, all right, now I'm going to grill you on stuff and you prove to me how awesome you are, right?
Are you worthy? Tell me.
Right? I'm like, I'm going to be able to answer 50, 70, 90% of their questions. I'm going to go through everything. I'm going to show them some culture-based videos of like how cool the organization is and what we're working on. Describe the fun projects. Give them the tangible projects. Don't talk about ambiguously, well, we'd love for you to be able to manage this and to help with this. Tell them what the outcomes are. What are they going to get to walk away with and feel proud when they hang out with their friends and their family and they say, how's work? And you're like, guess what I got to finish making at work this week, right? So we do that. What that helps with volunteerism is I tell them that these are roles designed where you will get to start and finish a project that you can then take and say, look what I did. Yeah. If you're not going to give a volunteer that feeling of satisfaction and help them really see what tangible outcomes they've been able to produce and feel proud of, it's going to be hard to retain them long term and even attract them in the first place. The second thing is by bringing them on as a team, they already feel like they know 2 or 3 other people in the company. They've got a crew. So if I'm looking for a graphic designer, I usually bring on 2 or 3. I'm not just bringing on 1. That also puts less pressure on the company because things happen. We've had people contract COVID, family members contract COVID, other people whose fathers contracted cancer, right? We all think about COVID, but there's still all the other diseases happening and tragedies that happen, car accidents, et cetera. People who have been, kicked out of their homes, lost their jobs. It's midterm season. Things happen. And so by having more than 1 volunteer in a role, you're putting less pressure on them as well. And they feel like they have a team. We talk about our values. Number 1 value we have is communication and setting any expectations that are most important to your company up front. Make sure that they're coming on board with the right mindset. And then I share with them all the things that I want to do to help them. And my first question I ask them is, why did you apply for this? And what can we help you with? What are your goals after this role? The amount of people who thank us for going, wow, like, I feel like I should be thanking you for bringing me on when I'm the one kind of giving my services, because we So we have huddle that helps them feel a part of a team. If you've ever heard of a huddle, a stand up, or a scrum, we do that online every Monday. Every volunteer is encouraged to come and join us. They hear all the ins and outs of the company. They feel like they get to go, wow, look at, I'm part of something so much bigger. It's not just this little piece I'm working on. Look at all these other things that are super crazy and amazing that they're doing. So that helps them with long-term and cultural integration. I tell them that I don't know if I'm allowed to say this. I tell them that on their LinkedIn profiles, add us as regular experience, not volunteer experience. In my opinion, if someone is willing to do something for the love of it, I will hire that person over the person who's doing it because they have to pay their rent. And so on LinkedIn, put us as regular experience. We value you as much as we value any other employee, and that will help them because it's always easier to find a job when you look like you're already actively working as opposed to not. We list every single team member on both of our websites. You are a part of our team. We want you to feel valued as a team member. So they're listed publicly as somebody that we value. We give thanks to our volunteers internally. And once they've worked with us and they've completed some projects that I have things to speak towards, I have done countless number of reference phone calls, reference letters, things of that nature to help people with whatever their future job goals are. And of course, whatever they work on, unless it's super proprietary, which there's not much that we hold to our chest over here, they're able to use it all as a part of their portfolio.
Wow. I mean, that's amazing. And you've really put a lot of thought into that whole process for them, which I think is super important. One of the things that I loved right at the beginning, you were talking about sharing the impact with them first and what the mission is that you're on. And I think it's a unique perspective, but also one that's just so obvious too, where it's like impact reporting in any sort of sense of communications for a nonprofit or a social enterprise. But let's do that impact reporting for people that we're going to hire, like right before we hire them, right before they get involved. I think that makes so much sense.
If you've ever woken up and thought, what's the point of what I'm doing today? That's the exact opposite of what your employees should be feeling. If you have somehow missed connecting what they do, if they show up and they're the coffee person, they should still feel attached to, wow, without this coffee, these people would not be able to kill it. And then that produces this and that produces this. They need to feel a part of that. And not being that company like Huddle is really important to me, where we're sharing our numbers, we're sharing the exciting things that are happening. We're also sharing the losses. And we're letting them know, like, hey, you are a part of this journey. And that's really what education should be as well. We can all think of the algebra class or whatever it is going, oh, yeah, when am I going to learn or need this when I grow up? That's how kids feel every day too, right? If you've ever been dragged to a seminar and you're like, oh God, I got to sit here. Can I leave? Will anybody notice if I leave?
Yeah.
We want our employees, our volunteers, our students to never have that feeling of what's the point of this? I don't get it. I'm uninspired. Nobody's going to do a good job.